My name is Evelyn Merritt, and I've lived in the same old farmhouse for nearly 40 years. It sits on the edge of a faded gravel road about 20 minutes outside of town, the kind of place you only end up at if you're trying to get there. It's surrounded by nothing but trees, a rusted wire fence, and memories, the kind of house that hums with silence when the wind isn't blowing. I've been alone here since my husband Gerald passed in 2016. We had 2 kids together, but only my son Marcus lives nearby. He stops by once or twice a week, brings groceries, changes the batteries in the smoke detectors, clears out the gutters. He tells me I should sell the place, maybe move into a condo near the city, says I shouldn't be alone so far out with no one around. But it's not the being alone that scares me. It started with small things, barely noticeable if you aren't paying close attention. The kitchen light would flicker when I passed under it. The radio in the living room would click on without me touching it, always static. Not music, not voices, just white noise like teeth grinding through cotton. I told Marcus. He smiled the way children smile when they think their mother is slipping, when they want to believe it's just age talking. He said maybe the power's getting finicky or the radio's finally giving out. He offered to replace it. I let him, but the new one did the same thing. I ignored it for a while. Old houses do strange things. They creak, they groan, they carry drafts that move like footsteps when the night gets quiet. But then the shadows started behaving wrong. The first time I really saw it was in the hallway outside the bathroom. It was maybe 2:30 in the morning, and I had just woken up from one of those dreams that feel like memory, but fade too quickly to know what they were about. I opened my door and saw the silhouette of a person standing at the far end of the hall. No features, no sound, just a person-shaped shadow, darker than the dark around it. I froze. For a full minute I didn't move, then I blinked, and it was gone. I told myself it was the dark playing tricks on me. The brain fills in what it wants to see. The next time it happened, I was in the kitchen, washing dishes. The light above me flickered again, but this time I heard something, this faint whisper like someone humming under their breath. Not a tune, but more like a vibration, a presence. I turned off the faucet and stood still. The sound didn't stop. It got louder, and I swear it came from just behind me, but when I turned, the room was empty. When Marcus came by that weekend, I mentioned it. He didn't even try to pretend this time, just told me it was the pipes, or maybe I was imagining things in the quiet. I wanted to scream, to shake him, but I didn't. Because how do you make someone believe in something that only happens when they're not around? The house knows when I'm alone. It waits. I started to notice the photos being moved, only slightly, but always just enough. The frame of my wedding picture would tilt to the right no matter how many times I fixed it. A few times I came back into the living room to find the entire photo flipped face down. Once the picture of Gerald had been turned around completely so I couldn't see his face at all. I asked Marcus if he'd done it during his last visit. He looked genuinely confused. One morning I woke up and found every drawer in the kitchen wide open. Cabinets too. It looked like someone had been searching for something. Nothing was missing, but everything was touched. Even the junk drawer had been spilled out. I checked every lock in the house, all still latched. No sign of forced entry, no footprints outside. That night, I sat up in bed, holding the little rosary my mother gave me when I was a girl. I don't even know if I believe in all that anymore, but it felt like something to hold on to. Around 1 a.m., I heard footsteps. Slow, steady, deliberate, not shuffling like an old person, but heavy, like boots. They moved from the hallway to the living room, paused, then started up the stairs. My stairs creak, they always have. I counted every single step. 12. When the 12th creak sounded, I braced for the doorknob to turn, but it never did. Silence. I sat there until the sun came up, clutching that rosary like it was my own heartbeat. I called Marcus that morning, told him I wanted cameras installed. He asked if I'd been watching those ghost hunting shows again. I screamed at him for the first time in years. He showed up later that afternoon with a couple of motion sensor cameras he bought online, set them up in the hallway and kitchen, said they'd notify me if anything moved when I wasn't in the room. That night, around 2:45 a.m., the hallway camera pinged. I opened the live feed on my phone. The hallway was pitch black, but in the grainy image, I could see something. A shape. It stood just to the left of the linen closet. It didn't move. Didn't shift, just stood there. I stared at it for over 3 minutes, waiting for it to vanish. I blinked. It didn't go away. I turned on the hallway light from my phone app. The shape was gone. The next day, Marcus came by. I showed him the footage. His face turned pale, but he tried to rationalize it. Said it could be a shadow from a passing car. I asked him what car at 3 a.m. on a dead-end road with no traffic for miles. He didn't have an answer. That was 2 weeks ago. The noises are louder now. It drags things. The chairs in the dining room screech across the floor during the night. I find rugs bunched up in places I never walk. Doors that don't normally close on their own slam shut without warning. 3 nights ago, I found writing on my bedroom mirror. Not with marker or lipstick, just condensation, like someone had breathed across the glass and drawn with a fingertip. It said, "Stay downstairs." I don't sleep upstairs anymore. Last night was the worst. I had fallen asleep in my recliner with the TV on low. Around 2 a.m., I woke up because the static on the TV was louder than usual. It wasn't on any channel, just that dead, pulsing white noise. I reached for the remote, but it wasn't on the table. I looked to the floor. There was something sitting in the armchair across from me, not a person, a figure. Its face was smeared, like someone had taken a wet rag to a painting. No eyes, no mouth, just this wet, glistening smudge where the features should have been. And it was watching me. I couldn't see its eyes, but I felt it. I closed my eyes and whispered Gerald's name. I prayed. I don't remember falling asleep. I just remember waking up when the sun hit my face through the window. The figure was gone. The TV was off, and the remote was on the table again. I called Marcus, begged him to come. He arrived mid-morning. I made coffee. He checked the camera logs. Nothing. No movement, no footage. The system had gone offline at 1:57 a.m. and restarted at 5:13. He looked at me and asked if I wanted to go stay with him for a while. I said yes, but when I went upstairs to pack a bag, I found my suitcase already on the bed, open, half-packed, with clothes I hadn't chosen, and tucked in the top corner, wrapped in one of my nightgowns, was that old porcelain doll I gave away 30 years ago. The tag around its wrist said, "Don't leave." I walked back down the stairs without my suitcase. Marcus asked me if I was okay. I told him I was staying. Just for now, because whatever this is, it doesn't want me to leave, and I think it's tired of being alone. I've lived alone in this house for about 3 years now. It's a small 2-story place on the edge of a quiet cul-de-sac in Pennsylvania, just far enough from the city to feel like I'm not suffocating. I work from home, so I spend a lot of time here. It's the kind of place you get used to being alone in. Or, at least, I used to. I don't know how else to explain it except that something started happening every night around 2 a.m. It started small, the kind of thing you brush off. The first time I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone, trying to unwind before sleep. I heard what sounded like light footsteps from upstairs. My house is older, so creaky floors aren't unusual, but I sleep downstairs. The entire second floor is basically storage. Boxes, books, my old keyboard, unused furniture. No one goes up there, not even me, if I can help it. I assumed it was the house settling, but the next night it happened again. I was brushing my teeth in the hallway bathroom when I heard a clear, rhythmic sound. like someone pacing across the floor above me. It wasn't random creaks this time. I counted 5 steps, pause, 5 more. I froze with the toothbrush in my mouth, staring at the ceiling. I live alone. No pets, no roommates. I stayed completely still for at least a minute, listening. Nothing. It stopped. I slept with the TV on that night, even though I told myself it was just old pipes or wood shifting. But deep down, I didn't believe that. By the 3rd night, it escalated. The footsteps didn't just start at 2 a.m., they moved. I swear I could follow the path they took, across the far upstairs hallway, then back, then down the stairs, but the sounds would stop just short of the bottom. I sat in bed, gripping the remote like it could protect me, volume muted, staring at the staircase in the dark. Then I heard the distinct sound of a door creak open. I don't have doors up there, not real ones. The upstairs is basically one big open floor with old curtains dividing sections. No doors, but the sound was unmistakable, like a hinge giving out after too much pressure. That's when I started locking my bedroom door at night. And I know that sounds dramatic, but something about the pattern, the time, the pacing, it wasn't random. It felt deliberate, like something was getting braver every night. The scariest part wasn't the footsteps, it was the silence that followed. The 4th night, I stayed up. On purpose. I set up my laptop on the kitchen table and left all the lights on. It felt stupid, but I needed to know I wasn't losing it. Around 2:14 a.m., right on cue, the footsteps started again. I bolted upright. I didn't even have to go upstairs to hear them. They were heavier this time, slow. Then came the dragging. It sounded like something was being pulled across the floor upstairs. A chair, maybe. A box. It scraped along the old wood, echoing just faintly into the hallway. I swear my blood ran cold. I didn't go upstairs. I didn't even move. I just sat there with every muscle locked up until the sun started coming in through the blinds. After that, I stopped trying to convince myself it was my imagination. I know what I heard. The next day, I told one of my neighbors about it, this older guy named Ken who's been here since the 80s. I made it sound like I thought it was rats or raccoons in the attic or something, just to avoid sounding insane. He got real quiet. Then he asked me if I had ever seen the inside of the house before I bought it. I told him no. The upstairs was locked when I toured the place. The agent said it was just a cluttered attic being used as storage. I didn't think twice about it. Ken just nodded slowly and said, "You know the guy who lived there before you died upstairs, right?" I felt my stomach drop. Apparently, the previous owner was an older man who had some sort of accident. No one ever explained how. Ken just said he wasn't right after his wife passed and eventually stopped going outside altogether. That night, the activity changed. I was in the living room with every light on, trying to distract myself with a movie, when I heard something fall. Not upstairs, inside the house. It was loud, heavy, like a shelf tipping over. I ran into the kitchen, heart pounding, and found one of the chairs tipped on its side. No wind, no earthquake. I hadn't touched it. It had just fallen. After that, things started happening even when it wasn't 2 a.m. Small things at first, drawers left open, water dripping in the bathroom I hadn't used. My toothbrush was on the wrong side of the sink one morning. I started taking photos, trying to prove to myself that things had moved, but they never showed anything. Nothing ever looked different when I reviewed the pictures. Until one night I took a video. I set up my phone to record the staircase from 1:50 to 3 a.m. I watched the footage in the morning, not expecting anything. But at exactly 2:17 a.m., the light above the staircase flickered, and for less than a second, literally one frame, there was a shape at the top of the stairs. Dark, human-shaped. But it wasn't walking, it was crouched. I dropped my phone, I felt sick. I didn't even finish watching the rest of the clip. I couldn't. The following night, I didn't sleep at all. The house was so quiet that the refrigerator clicking on made me flinch. I kept the lights off this time, thinking maybe the thing, whatever it was, wouldn't move if it thought I was asleep. At 2:12 a.m., I heard breathing. I swear to God. It wasn't loud. It was shallow, almost like someone standing just outside my bedroom door, trying not to be heard. I didn't move. I barely even breathed myself. And then, the doorknob turned. Just slightly, once. Twice. Then it stopped. I didn't sleep at all that night. Or the night after. I tried to get a priest to bless the house. He did it, but I could tell he didn't buy it. Said something about lingering grief energy or whatever. I didn't care. I just wanted it gone. But nothing changed. Last week I caved and stayed at a hotel for 2 nights, just to get a break. When I came home, I found muddy footprints on the second-floor stairs. I hadn't been up there in over 2 months. I still haven't gone up. I won't. I've called contractors to seal it off, even considered moving entirely. But something tells me it wouldn't matter. Whatever this thing is, I think it was here before me. I think it's still here. I don't know what it wants. All I know is it still happens. Every single night, just after 2 a.m., the footsteps return. I don't even bother locking the bedroom door anymore. Because somehow, I know it doesn't care. We moved into the house in January, just after New Year's. The timing wasn't great, but my husband, Matt, had gotten a job offer we couldn't turn down, and the housing market was tight. We'd been looking for weeks when we came across the listing. 3 bedrooms, big fenced yard, quiet suburban street, and somehow within our budget. The only catch: the seller was in a hurry, wanted to close fast. I remember thinking that was a red flag, but we were desperate. We had 2 young kids and needed out of our apartment. From the outside, the house was charming. Red shutters, wraparound porch, big oak tree in the front yard. The inside was older, sure, but livable. The first few days were hectic. Unpacking, setting up bedrooms, trying to keep the kids from tripping over boxes, the kind of chaos you'd expect. That first night I heard my daughter Emma calling for me. She was 6 at the time, still prone to bad dreams. I was brushing my teeth when I heard her voice, clear as day, from her room down the hall. "Mommy?" I spit out my toothpaste and headed straight there, but when I opened her door, she was fast asleep, mouth open, one arm hanging off the bed. I even watched her for a second, confused. Maybe I'd imagined it. The next night it happened again. Same time, around 2 a.m. "Mommy." Only this time, the voice sounded farther away. Not from Emma's room, but from the bottom of the stairs. I felt that cold, prickling sensation crawl over my skin. I tiptoed out into the hallway and leaned over the banister. Nothing. I checked Emma's room. She was still out cold. Checked on my son Ben, too. Same thing, both sleeping soundly. That's when I started to get scared. I told Matt about it the next morning. He laughed it off, blamed it on stress and exhaustion, said my mind was playing tricks. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But then it started happening when I was awake. One afternoon, I was folding laundry in our bedroom while the kids were outside. I had the window open and was humming to myself when I heard Emma's voice again, except it wasn't Mommy this time. It was laughter, her laugh, from inside the house. I froze. The basket slipped from my lap. The sound had come from the hallway, right outside the bedroom door. I jumped up and ran into the hall, calling her name. "Emma!" Nothing. "Ben, you guys inside?" I went downstairs, checked the back door. Still locked. They were still outside, drawing with sidewalk chalk on the patio. That night I asked Emma if she'd come inside earlier. She looked confused and shook her head. "Number you said not to." Matt told me it was probably just noise traveling weird through the vents. "This place is old, Hannah. Who knows how sound moves around? But he wasn't the one being called. It wasn't just me, though. A week later, Matt came into the kitchen with this weird look on his face. He asked if I had just whispered his name from the bathroom. I hadn't. I'd been in the garage doing laundry. He tried to play it off, but I could tell it rattled him. That was the first time he stopped brushing it off. We started hearing our own voices, mimicked. It was always subtle, just a whisper or a single word. But the cadence was perfect, the exact tone we used with each other or the kids. Hey, honey, come here. Sometimes it would come from upstairs when no one was up there. Sometimes it would come from the basement when it was locked. And then the kids started hearing it too. Emma came into our room crying one night saying, "Daddy's being weird." When we asked what she meant, she said he had called her name from the hallway, but when she got there, no one was there. Matt had been asleep next to me the whole time. After that, we started locking the kids' doors at night, not to keep them in, but to make sure nothing else got in. Things got worse quickly. Footsteps at night, doors creaking open on their own, whispers through the baby monitor even though our youngest is 7. Once, the garage door opened at 3 a.m. on its own, loud enough to wake the whole house. We had it inspected. Everything was fine. New sensors, new rollers, no malfunction. I started recording audio at night. I was too scared to check the video, honestly. I didn't want to see something I couldn't explain, but I figured if I could hear something, maybe it would make sense. One morning I played back the recording from the night before. At exactly 2:41 a.m. I heard it. My voice saying, "Come downstairs." Only I hadn't gotten out of bed that night. I know I hadn't. Worse, Matt heard it too. He turned pale and asked me to delete the file. He didn't want the kids to hear it. He didn't want to hear it again. We started sleeping with a flashlight on the nightstand, a baseball bat too. We kept the kids close and tried to stay normal. But normal was gone. Ben became afraid of closets. Emma wouldn't walk past the hallway mirror at night, said it talked weird. I caught her covering it with a blanket one morning before school. I sat her down and asked what she meant. She said sometimes it showed the wrong version of her. I didn't know what to say to that. One night, it all came to a head. It was storming, loud thunder, heavy rain, and we had all the lights off except the one in the hallway. I was reading in bed when I heard someone running down the stairs, fast. I jumped up thinking one of the kids had a nightmare. But as I stepped into the hallway, I heard my own voice call out from the living room. "Matt?" It was me, but not me. And I was standing there frozen, just outside our bedroom door. Then the kids started screaming from their room. We ran in expecting a nightmare. Instead, both kids were sitting up, white as sheets, pointing at the corner of the room. "Daddy was in here," Ben said, shaking. "I heard Mommy," Emma whispered. Matt and I just looked at each other. We stayed in the room the rest of the night, all 4 of us curled up on the bed, lights on. The next day we called a medium. I didn't even believe in that stuff, but I was desperate. She walked the house quietly, barely saying a word until she reached the hallway closet upstairs. She stopped cold. "Something here pretends," she said. "It copies, it mimics." I asked her what she meant. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "It doesn't want you to know what it is. It wants you to trust it." I felt like I was going to throw up. She burned some sage and said a prayer, but admitted afterward it might not be enough. "This isn't a haunting," she said. "This is something older." We moved out a month later. We broke our lease, drained our savings, and rented a small place in town just to get away. Nothing has happened since, but sometimes, late at night, I still think I hear someone calling my name from the hallway. And the worst part, sometimes it sounds like me.